Hello and welcome to Uptown Tonight. It is, was it March? March? Wow, I'm already getting ahead of myself. February 22nd of 2023. It is starting to be blizzardy out there and all that other fun stuff, so we just had to make sure that Mr. Ozzy Osmundson was actually safe tonight, so we're going to just let him stay home. We're rescheduling for him for next week. And that being said and everything else, I just got done with my long-term subbing gig that was last for the past few months. So thank you, Lindsay Boyd, for bringing me on for all that and everything else. It was fun being a junior high band director, basically, for the last few months. And now I get to sleep in tomorrow, regardless what happens tonight. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, with that, we only had a few moments to figure out what was going to happen tonight. And I was just like, I haven't gone on here and just talked about me or whatever else. And I was just like, yeah, let's just do a good old Ask Me Anything. We'll see if anyone comes out there on the live chat. So far, I don't see anybody, which is kind of, it is what it is. But, this is just trying to keep the tradition alive here. So I am your host, Mr. Wayne Stallenfacher, or Discount Tom Cruise, or Tom Brady, or whatever you want to call me tonight. I don't really care. And this is the Uptown Tonight Podcast. We do believe that a rising tide does raise all ships, and we are here basically trying to support our entertainment people out there, and we definitely have to get out that calendar this week because, wow, it is starting to explode again, and I'm loving that. Loving seeing what's going on out there. Oh, so let's talk about me. Wow, the entire time. So here we go. We're going to start off with what happened last weekend. And we got old Zebers. Zebers says, I don't look like that anymore, and that's why I got the back door wide open, just in case he wants to come on in and join us. I have a camera set up all on the couch area right there, and he's not here, just and me. So, old Zebers definitely don't look like that anymore. It's definitely a way bigger puppy. And where are we at? And then, of course, we got Cito there hugging old Junior with the Uptown merch we got out there. So we're going to be at the Windbreak on Friday. So come on out the Windbreak. Come and have a good time. Maybe purchase some Uptown merch right off of Junior. And Cito will definitely be there to help you out as well. And then, of course, support our troops. As my son is an infantry out at Fort Carson, Colorado. And we wish them all the well, but we have to definitely be out there and supporting our troops. So please do all that. All right. Well, let's get to me, I guess. So I'll just go off and basically how I grew up. I grew up in this house. I know I've said this multiple times while on the podcast here. And, well, had a great childhood, I would have to say. Basically, there's at least half a dozen kids that were always either within the block or, in this house. This house is kind of like the communal type place. The back door is always open. Everyone was always welcome to come in. Now, granted, you had to hide from eating all my dad's food because he didn't really like that idea too much. But, that's how it worked. And we have a woods down by the end next to the river. We used to go down there and we'd play, we called guns at the time. So kind of like Army War. We'd wear my dad's old Vietnam fatigues, which are now worth $1 billion. But we tore them up in that woods for many, many years, basically going around playing like, I shot you, no, you didn't, you missed, playing those games and stuff like that. So we did that for many, many years until we started, getting into the junior high type thing and getting into the music and everything else that was happening out there. So I didn't really get into music. Well, I shouldn't say that. In third grade, my mother got me started in playing piano. I can't remember the name of the teacher at the moment. It started with a Z. That's all I can really come up with. Maybe I'll come up with it later. But she was pretty strict on what we did. We come in there. If you didn't play it right, you're doing it again. And, third grade to, I think I quit in seventh grade, just, you don't have that mindset. Well, I didn't. Maybe some people do. Of just sitting down and then just working on stuff. And, well, so it was kind of a task right there. I know I got from primary level to level 4, I think. That's where I ended up before I quit and everything else. And that's where I got started with music, at least. And it was something that, it always interested me. I played sports the entire time as well. I think we played every type of sport out there. The only one I really didn't like was basketball. Yeah, hate me for it. That's fine. But basketball, I don't know. It Didn't talk to me. We played it for 1 year, and that's it. Hockey. I loved hockey. Got my Charlestown Chiefs jersey on right now, so I'm being all Jeff Hanson from the Hanson brothers on that. If you haven't seen that movie, Slapshot, you definitely got to check that one out. There's no reason why you haven't seen it yet, especially living up in this area. And, well, I digress on all that stuff, but yeah, we played all the sports, football, soccer, whatever, But I really had this interest in getting into music. And I remember when the orchestra people came around, because they came around 5th grade, and band didn't start for us until 6th grade. And I wanted to play in that, and I really wanted to play the bass. I just thought that thing was cool. It was huge. It was big, and that's where all the guys were at. They're playing bass. They weren't playing violins because that's where all the girls were at and all the other fun stuff. It was a different time, people, just how it was. And my mother said, no, how are we supposed to transport that back and forth? And I was like, really? A transportation issue? That's what this is all about? And yes, that's basically what it came down to. And then with the next year, in 6th grade, we have to go do, and I know I've said this multiple times on here, but just keeping consistent, is that we went and did the band tryouts, where you go in there, and then you get to try all the different instruments and all the other fun stuff. And I remember I wanted to play saxophone. I thought the saxophone was so cool, and just because of the Muppets, that guy at the end of the Muppet Show would sit there and play that really low, I think that was a B flat or a C or something down there. But you'd play that, and I thought that was just the coolest sound. It had all the little buttons. It was shiny. It was really cool. It was right next to the electric guitar. I wanted to play saxophone. And we got to there, and I swear to God that they put a piece of bark on that thing that must have been about 2 inches thick, just so you couldn't make a sound on that. I could not for the life of me make a sound at all on that saxophone. And then they're all just pushing me. At least my mother was pushing me, because they had a little price guide next to the instruments. And the price guide, of course, goes such as this. Percussion, $400. Saxophone, $7,000. Like trumpet, $1,000 or something like that. I'm making up numbers now as I go, but I remember that whole $7,000 deal, the $400 deal. And I know to this day I'm sure that's what my mother was looking at. She was just like, I don't want to spend that much, but I'll spend $400. And they spent a lot of time talking to me about, like, the year before we got to watch the jazz band or whatever from the junior high came to the 6th grade, because the 6th grade was in a whole different building, and they played for us, and how the drum set, Tennyson, I can't remember his first name, Damian Tennyson, had a drum set solo during that entire thing. So, and how cool that was, and how cool it should be for me to do that. And Zeebers finally made it. Hey, Zeebs, you going to jump in up on there? Huh? Want to get up there? Yeah, get up over here. Well, that's not helpful. I can't move the Zeebs, so you can see Zeebs here. Here you go. Yep, there he is. The Zeeb's in here hanging out with us. And so they kept talking to me about how percussion would be kind of cool to check out. I should check out the percussion thing. So I did that, and it was just basically like, here, can you tap out these beats? And I had piano for that many years. It wasn't an issue. It was like, can you pick out these notes on the piano? Yeah. Can everybody do this? I just, it's one of those things. You just assume that everyone else had the same experience as you did. And then they asked me to play a roll, and I'm like, what's a roll? And they kind of showed me, and then I was like, okay. So to this day, Mrs. Sunmore and my mother pushed my trajectory from that point on to what I'm doing now. At least I'm still doing percussion, I'm still drumming, still doing all that fun stuff. And all because I think my mom wanted to save some money. Don't quote me on that. She hasn't been around for many, many years, but, that's kind of where I'm at least how I got started. And, I just remember bringing that drum home, and then I'd set it up, and I'm just like, that's going to be my new best friend. And which is kind of crazy to think to yourself, but, I kind of tried to make it that way. We were really competitive back then. There was myself, Mark Gumtoo, if you're ever out there, shout out to Mark Gumtoo, and I'm messing your name right now, Mark something. And it was always us three going for first chair. Right? We were really pushing at each other. I just remember Mark Gumtoo had the really cool drum set, and yeah, everyone else was just there, and we just played. And we really didn't do much mallet stuff at the time, but I remember Sunmore This is real inspiration at the time. She would always push. She always wanted you to get ahead, always push ahead, everything else. And she always talked about the marching band. Like, oh, you got these marching bands you get to go to when you get into high school, and the marching band. And I didn't know anything about the marching band. Didn't really care. I'm just like, I just hear to drum. I thought it was really cool when you got into the band situation where you played your part and it just mixed in with everybody else. And that was just really, really interesting to me. I couldn't believe that they did that or how that all worked together. But and that's how it all went through, at least the junior high. It's just there wasn't much of anything. We just read out of a couple books. There was a Haskell Har and the Alfreds that they still use to this day. I remember I had to go back and redo all those books. We learned all the rudiments and all this rudimental stuff and everything else, and didn't really know what we were working on. It was just like, this is what we have to do for next week, and that's what we did. And then we got up to high school, and that's where I started the whole marching band thing. But first, I got to say hi to old Kyle Kemple out there. Hey, brother, how you doing, man? Then Evelyn Shively. Yes, hello. And again, it's an Ask Me Anything type scenario. So if you throw out some questions for me, I'll see if I can answer them, or the best I can answer them for you. Or else I just got to fill up a bunch of space with me talking about my yay life. Well, you know. In some aspects, I thought it was kind of neat, but everything else. But so I get to high school. And in high school, we started marching band that summer. And I didn't know much about marching band other than that's what you just had to go in and do. And back then, Doug Engstrom was the director of the bands there and the marching bands and all that other fun stuff. And they're one of the better marching bands in the area all through the 80s. Now, this was hitting, I think, 1990, 91, one of those years when we got, at least when I started there. And I walk in, we were late, didn't realize what was going on. This was like the type of camp you'd go to, basically. You just jump in line, and you figure it out as you go. And I walked in there, and he gave me a bass drum. This is one of very few times I actually wore a bass drum for marching. And I remember walking out, and they used to have, at least out into the parking lot, used to be behind the high school, which is now turning into the high school as we speak. And let's see. One of the girls that I really liked at the time played French horn. And lo and behold, guess what someone who couldn't see over the top of a bass drum stepped on? Yep, her French horn. Totally destroyed it. It was just mashed up. And, besides the embarrassment and everything else, and just running out there, not knowing what else was going on, everything else, that was my first day of marching band, first day of the whole marching thing. And then you're going to see as I go through some of these photos and stuff. Shively. Sorry, Evelyn. And that became kind of my thing for a long, long time. And it's still kind of my thing because I even forgot to show you. Let's go back and show you that. So I got to show off my drumline I'm working with over in Moorhead. Moorhead High, we had our 4th performance here at their Pep Fest. And this is, about 60 seconds.
Get up on your feet, ladies and gentlemen, drumline.
The crowd was electric. think we sunk in a few hooks that day, at least for drumline people wise. And it was just a great day for them. It was really cool watching them all light up like that. But I got to brag about them because I think there's 2 actual percussionists on the entire line. Everyone else plays something. Even we have a person that's playing in there that's not even a band. She's actually just an orchestra person. I shouldn't say just an orchestra person, but she's an orchestra person that came over to do some stuff with the drum line. So really, really proud of those guys. Can't be any prouder. And we're still growing on that. So we got people still coming in, wanting to join up and everything else. And our season's pretty much done. We have one more show left. We played the Day of Percussion at Concordia on April 1st. We'll be at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 9:15. So if you want to get out to a nice early show and see some drum, or see the good old Moorhead drum line, or Spud line, I should say, it's what they call themselves, head on out there for that. And yes, that is one way to make an impression, to step on someone's French horn. Yeah, I'm sure she hasn't forgotten that either. But, it was someone that was just, for me, out of reach. I have a twin brother. He's actually right now a superintendent over at Osgood Golf Course, and she really liked him. So during all those junior high dances, I would get the chance to dance with her, but she was always just trying to get to my brother, so she kept asking about that. And, yeah, thank you if you dug the drum line there. So, so that's basically how all that that was going on. And then the marching thing was happening. So during that time, regular bands started up in high school and everything else, and I was just playing percussion in the back of the room where, percussionists were doing percussionist things. I'm not saying that it was all square and it was all cool and it was something you could do, but I had instructors tell me things that they used to do back in the 70s and 60s that were even worse than what we used to do. So I get it. I completely understand that we weren't exactly doing what we're supposed to be doing back there. But, whatever. I'm digressing again. And then one day I get a call from a person named Jason Littlefield. So Jason Littlefield, you ever see this? You're another one that drove me off into another direction. He called me up just one day out of the blue and asked if I wanted to be in a drum corps. And I was like, what's a drum corps? What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, it's like drumline, but it's at somebody else's house. I'm like, oh, okay, it's drums. Sign me up, whatever. Let's do this. So I go off to this other person's house, and it was just a drumline light, kind of call it, in someone's basement that they purchased all this drum corps equipment at the time. Now, if you don't know what a drum corps is, you check out DCI.org, and that'll bring you up to all that fun stuff. It's bugles and it's drums and a color guard, and then we go out and compete. It's kind of like marching band on steroids, the best way to say it. Or some people call it the professional marching bands, but technically you're paying thousands of dollars in order to do that all summer long, so you're not a professional. You're just really good at what you do, and you really, really care what's going on. And so we started that off down there, and our first thing that we played was Purple Push Pins. I remember that. I still have the music for it in the other room, as I tried to archive all that stuff. I got binders and binders of all my drum corps music and everything else from way back in the 90s, but it was just something I just wanted to keep for myself, and just, for a historical type thing, we were trying to do something with the drum corps that was in town, which was called the North Force. And we never made it out of Division 3. There was 3 divisions at the time. One was being basically the big guys. They had 128 people maximum, and huge sound, huge everything else. And then it was Division 2, which was, I don't think there was like a minimum, but there probably was. It was like 40 or 50 up to the 100 in some. They just weren't quite, ready to take that leap into Division 1. We're all based on different types of ways of judging and all that, so the point system and everything else. And then Division 3 was basically, if you have 2 or up to, 40 people. I'm making these numbers up. It could be something different. And I think the highest we ever got, at least with the North Force, was 38. And again, don't completely quote me on that, but that's pretty much what it was. But how that worked is that we started off in that basement, and it was just us as a drum line. We went out, I think we played a few gigs, and then a lot of the kids quit. I was I'm the longest running member of that drum corps. I started off basically the year after it started, and I was there until basically I had to fold it up and just, call it quits. But we started off doing that, and then I just remember one time we were going out. Ken Fenton, he was the director of it at that time. Ken Fenton, so shout out to you, Ken. And Rochelle. I also remember Rochelle. I ran into you at not Gooseberry. Oh, I can't remember. The big place. The thing. The thing. Yeah. So, and then we went out to a rehearsal one day, and all of a sudden there was a whole bunch of people playing horns, like trumpets and whatever else. They call them different things: sopranos, baritones, contras, and all that stuff. Just tubas and a baritone type instrument and a trumpet type instrument was soprano, and color guard. He just recruited all these people. I don't know where he got them from. Actually, we figured it out. It was from Fargo North and Fargo South. That was the main recruitment places. And, we got a couple out of Moorhead for that's basically from me, whatever else. And that's where the drum corps began. I think the first few years of doing the drum corps, we just did parades. And we just went around to a billion parades every summer, being on the bus, hanging out with your friends, going out and making music. Again, this is before internet and all that stuff. So this was, we're out exploring. This was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And we do these parades, and, you come home and do it again. We had these really goofy things. Maybe I'll find some stuff in my magic box here of the old uniforms you used to wear. Some of them are pretty embarrassing, but they're uniforms. Working on a budget. It was early 90s. What do you do? And then we transferred into actually competitive drum corps. I believe, I don't know if it was my junior year. Maybe it was my sophomore. It was probably my junior year. And I remember our first competition was in Alexandria, just 100 miles down the road. That was the closest DCI, or DCM. I don't know, someone's going to get me on that competition that there was close to Moorhead. And, of course, we came in dead last. Everything else, rose tinted glasses. We all thought we were so cool and everything else. We actually go back and watch these things. You're like, yes, a lot of improvements that can be done. And again, that's us just being more mature and knowing what we're actually trying to do. But there I met my best of friends, and everywhere else, I got Dan Sulovitz. He has a podcast on here that's down someplace. He produces music now, basically for people out of St. Louis, for hip-hop and all this other fun stuff. Tyler Andrews is on there. He's another person I met through drum corps. The Keller brothers, I get Mike Keller, I've been trying to get on, and Corey Keller, and his dad Dean, his mother Kathy. They're like a second family to me during all that. Who else is in there? Derek Lean. Derek Lean is one of the original drummers for 32 Below. He was in there along with Luke Nygaard. He's another 32 Below drummer. Let's see. Who else am I thinking of? Oh, there's just a bunch of people, just a bunch of great people, and it just got to meet them all. So the whole thing was that we'd get on the bus and we'd take these tours, and we go play a show here, play a show there, get completely trounced, and then we come back home, and then we do it again. That's what brought me to where I wanted to go to school. So when I was graduating from high school, I didn't know where to go. I just figured that, what people did was that they just go to the first area that has, music or something and to me, Rock U, because of Mike Coates and everything he was doing at MSUM or MSU at the time, that's the place I wanted to go. That's where all the rock stars were at. I had long hair. Everything was metal. If you could understand the lyrics, we didn't want anything to do with it. It all had to be had to be all that fun stuff. So I get there and find out that I'm one of 3 percussion majors, and I make all the top bands basically in the first semester, basically. There's a few other things that are happening in the background as well. So while I'm sitting there just practicing, again, this comes after also that my mother just died from cancer and everything else the summer before that. So I've maybe been a little more involved in the percussion stuff just to get my mind off of what was happening at home and everything else. But I didn't felt like I was getting pushed hard enough. It felt like that I was kind of like pulling people along, and I was just a freshman, barely months into this, and I wanted to find a way out. And then that led me to University of North Texas, and that's where I wanted to go. Now, I'll show you a photo here. Whoop, not that one, but there we go. See, that's right outside where the drum line actually stood. And that was the whole reason why I wanted to go down there was a drum line. I had no clue about their jazz program. I had no clue about the other stuff. I just know that we went down there. Me and Dan Sullivitz, the one I just talked about before, and one of the Kellers, I think Corey was along. And I've never been to Texas before, and he was just like, "Do you want to go out and check out a school in Texas?" I'm like, "Well, what day is it?" And I was, "Sure, let's go do this." So we go down there, and the best part about the trip, at least the driving trip part, was is that the hotel we stayed at had those vibrating beds when you put the quarter in there, and we thought that was so cool, so we just kept throwing quarters. That stupid thing, yeah. But we get down there, and it was a Friday, and Friday, that was the day that they had the percussion was having their what's the word for this? Basically like their recital, but it's not recital. It's something, they call it something else. And everyone in the percussion, or everyone who's doing percussion at the University of North Texas had to play at least one solo or one ensemble per semester. They had to do that. And I just remember walking into there, and they're just like, "Oh, you want to go see this?" And it was like, "You guys are all drummers, right?" And we're like, yeah, we're percussionists." It's like, well, check this out. Basically, you walk into an auditorium, and it's completely filled with people. And there's one person, I remember this to this day, one person up on the stage playing Kiko Abe's Dream of the Cherry Blossoms, and he found out that she was a freshman. I can't play that to this day. I've been working, I put too many hours on that marimba. I cannot play this to this day. And she's up there just doing it as a freshman. And right there, I'm just like, I got to go here. This smells like home. This has to be it. So I did everything that I could to basically make it down there. I remember my dad didn't want me to go. He threatened to even call the car in that I had at the time. It was my mother's old car, and stolen and everything else, so I wouldn't leave. And I was just like, "No, Dad, I gotta make this happen." Everything else. The real weird part about it was is that my grandmother passed away. My grandmother, so my mom's mom died basically just a year after she died. And the funeral was during the time that I needed to take off to get down to North Texas. So they all went off to Idaho, and then I just drove down to Texas by myself, not knowing what to happen, what's going on. I knew of one person out of Fargo North, Aaron Burns. So Aaron, if you're out there, still love you, man. Miss you guys. And I met Dan Sullivan's cousin, Joel Keeney, Jolie Beans. So Jolie Beans, you see this, shout out to you as well. And those are the only two people that I knew, but, I didn't know. I didn't know if they're going to hang out. I didn't know if we had any kind of chemistry, whatever else. And so be it. So I get there, and we start not realizing that drumline basically started the week before. I did not know that. And I had to go in and ask about things, and they're just like, "Well, you need to talk to Doc." And I was like, "Who's Doc?" And Doc is the head of the percussion department down there. And I'm blowing his Robert starts with an S. Oh, don't hate me for this. I should know this because he is a legend and an absolute monster when it comes to all that stuff. But he tested me on the spot about, line placement and everything else for the School of Music, and placed me in there. Next thing you know, I'm playing snare drum on the University of North Texas B line. Now, at this point, the University of North Texas was 10 years straight world champions, because the only time they actually had drumline competitions then was for the Percussive Arts Society. I don't get into the weeds in that international convention, but that was the only place they actually had like drumline competitions for collegiate. And North Texas won every year for 10 years straight. And those guys were beyond anything. They're just, beyond comprehension. So I got to basically play on the feeder line. Now, this feeder line was no slouch whatsoever. There was Blue Devils on there, Cadets. Who else was there? Ray came from the West Coast, East Coast, somewhere up by Boston. And the guy next to me, and for some people, you jazzers out there, you'd know about this, is that the University of North Texas is #1 in jazz studies worldwide. It's been that way for a while. They always joked about that they would never let the best jazz band, the 1 o'clock jazz band, compete because they're considered professional, so the 2 o'clock just went in and won everything. They'd always joke about that. But they got the 1 through 9 o'clock. And the kid next to me, actually on the outside of me, which means that I had the better position, played in the 3 o'clock, the 3 o'clock jazz band. Those it gets crazy when you get up that high in numbers with the jazz program out there. And he was a really nice guy. No problems with him whatsoever. I just still remember Paul Rennick, because Paul Rennick was running the entire drumline thing out there. But that year, I think J.J. Pippiton, I think that's the name. But he went off to doing Phantom Regiment's drumline after that. But he was running the B line, and then every once in a while, Paul Rennick would come by. But I was in Paul Rennick's studio, so I was taking private lessons with him. And that guy, he's just the baddest of people. He's the only one to ever kick me out of a private lesson because I wasn't completely prepared. It was a learning day that day. It definitely was. Day of percussion, that's right. But he comes in, he starts talking to I can't remember his name, the guy in the 3 o'clock. And he's just like, why are you here? And he's just like, what are you talking about? I'm at the University of North Texas. He goes, jazz. He's like, yeah, why are you here? This kid was out of Chicago area. And he's like, just going to school, learning how to drum. And he just stops. He's like, you already know how to drum. Get out there and start doing it. And I'm just like, what? When does a professor just tell you to leave school just to go do something? And he was doing him the biggest favor ever, because most of the time you're in these schools basically so you can train. It gives you a couple of years to train and get out there and do what you have to do, or make connections and find people that have the same interests and all that other fun stuff. But I mean, this guy already, if he's coming in that hot, he knows what he's doing. He should be out there doing it and just making new friends and everything else. And that was one of the few things that, well, I shouldn't say few things, but that was one of a couple things that just stay in my mind constantly when I see people like that. And just like, why are you here? Why are you doing this? You should be out there actually playing. Don't be worried about giving other people money just to basically make yourself feel like you're still accomplishing something. Just get out there and accomplish it. It doesn't make any sense. So that was one of the things. And so I'm out in Texas, and our drum corps in Fargo was still going on, at least for the first year that I was out there. And then by the time the second year came out there, they were having some troubles keeping enough people in. They weren't making dues. They weren't getting enough people to field for a corps. So they had to fold down the actual performing unit. And that's when I took off. And I shouldn't say took off, because the year before, I'll show you a photo of that as well. Actually, a few things. And that's Jason Scott Williams. If you look on the old school stuff, I know this is getting old now, but it was one of the best drum corps shows I think has ever been written. 1995, Madison Scouts did a drum corps, what was it? A drum corps fan fantasy part 2 or something like that. And Jason Scott Williams was the mellophone soloist in the middle of it all. So it was basically tight close-up on him, all this fun stuff. And, this is 90s, 95, okay? So, I mean, it's not like this happens all the time. It's not like today where everyone's just doing their, taking everything off their phones and doing all that stuff. This was like high production type things. So that's Jason Scott, and he made up this poster for me. I just saw it. It was right here. There it is, right next to Aaron Burns now. All my North Texas stuff started this, but he made that sign up for me. Good luck, because I really had my Jimi Hendrix poster. I forgot about that. But he made that sign up for me since he was the Madison Scout soloist, and he was pushing me because I wanted to be a Phantom Regiment so bad. And I know for some people you have no idea what I'm talking about, but Phantom Regiment's out of Loves Park, Illinois, and they are always playing the classical. They always seem like they're just they just had a look and feel about them that I just wanted to be in. Scouts are a little more party, a lot more about entertaining the crowd and everything else, which, he talked me into. Is like, yeah, that's what music's for. It's entertaining the crowd, right? That's what it should be for. And I remember I worked and worked and worked and worked on this audition, and he drew that up, put it on my dorm room door before I left that, I think it was, Thanksgiving of 95. to try out for the '96 season, and I got up there at Madison. Actually, no, he didn't drive, but he was there. I was with another guy who played in Madison Scouts, who was a Contra. I don't really remember. I can't remember his name at the moment. So sorry about that, whoever drove. And we get there, and I remember meeting people that we met in the parking lots before up in the DCM area, which is up in the upper Midwest, because Madison Scouts are out of Madison, Wisconsin. At least at the time. Now they're in Florida someplace. And we did all the audition stuff. I think it was in Madison proper high school. Don't quote me on that. It's probably pretty much what it is. And we get in there, and you find out, because or still now, is that if people age out or quit, that's the only time there's holes or positions to get to. There was one snare position available, and there was over 100 of us from the entire nation out ready to get that position. And I just remember just being ultra confident with myself at the time, because I don't know, maybe I was kind of an asshole at the time. I don't even know, but it was a little more confident than it probably should have been. And everyone jumped up, ran up, and you had to pencil your name in for the times there that you could get into. My time, we were there at 9 that morning, and I didn't get to actually audition until about 11 o'clock that night. That's how many people that were auditioning just for the snare stuff. And I remember going into that audition, and there was a kid that was right behind me. He must have been like 14 or 15, but he was, on the pad, he sounded great. It was lots of cool stuff that I wasn't able to do for since the past year. And I was running up on age 21 at the time, I believe. He aged out at 21, but I aged out during, so I got the next bonus year. So I was actually 22 when I aged out. But I remember telling him, I was like, man, I wish I could do that when I was your age. And a big smile came on, and I went and did my audition. Just smoked it. It was the most solid thing I've probably ever done in front of people. And the guy even looked at me and just said, you got a good chance of making the line. And I just was through the moon, through the roof, whatever you want to call it. But then I got cocky. And that's something that shouldn't have happened. This is one of those learning experiences in life that I hope some of you get. Gavin, you're out there. How you doing, Gavin? Oh, man, I miss you, man. And so I go back to the dorm thing. You can hear everyone else is working all the exercise packet, everything that they have. They're just working the death out of it, because the next day you got to actually play in the line. And I'm going, I'm from North Texas. I just smoked my audition, whatever else. Get into that line. First few things, just fine. Then we're doing some syncopation, whatever going on, something I've never actually played before. And I'm just trying to sight read the thing. Why? I had the music all night. Yeah, exactly. Don't. I get it. I just remember it was on the E of the left hand. It's supposed to be an accented part. I missed it, and once I missed it, my mind snapped. I froze, freaked out. I couldn't play a roll. I couldn't do anything with those guys. So needless to say, I didn't get it, but that 16-year-old I was talking about earlier, the one that was hanging out right behind me, he got the position. And their idea was that he's going to be in the line for about 5-6 years. And, it makes perfect sense. But I was mad. I put in all that time, effort, did just right on the cusp there. But, it's what happens when you get cocky. So that's one of my life's lessons. Don't do that. Never think that you're better than what you are, because there's always someone better out there. But, so that's my thing for that. But then I went off and I tried actually, I didn't even have to try out for these other corps. Our corps folded in May, I believe, and we're supposed to be out on the road at the end of May, starting in June. And I had 3 drum corps get a hold of me within a week. And I'm going to guess that Bill Hall, Bill, we love you, man. He was basically one of my first drumline instructors out there. He was awesome. He just brought the attitude. It was just beautiful. Just beautiful. But I had one from the Americanos, which I had no inkling of doing. We dealt with those guys in the parking lot too many times. Capital Sound, which is basically Madison Scouts Junior, except they had females in there. Madison Scouts at the time, I think they finally have females in there, but Madison Scouts and the Cavaliers were the 2 all-male corps when they started back in the 20s and stuff. Just kind of how it worked out. And then the last one is, they're a real big corps now. Out of Milwaukee, I can't think of the actual name. But they wanted me to play marimba, and I wanted to march. And then Capital Sound had a tenor spot open, which, I've played tenors, but I didn't really know tenors. And Americano's just no-go. So we went and checked out the Capital Sound one weekend, and I saw what they're doing, figured I could make it happen, and they put me in, and that was one of the best summers of my life. I'll just say that right now. That basically everyone always asks, just like, well, not everyone, but you have that year that you'd want to do over and over and over and over again. Me, 1997. That was a great, 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 great year. Lots of stuff happened and everything else. It was really fun. Gavin, been doing all right. I've been sitting there waiting for other tubists to be out there to be just as cool as you. Some try. They just don't quite make it, Gavin. So thank you for being you. Hopefully you're still playing, man. So I hope you are. All right. So let's see. I better get to the weekend report here before I keep on yabbering about all this drum corps stuff and everything else. Because, I haven't even got to my drum set, which I spend probably the least amount of time on everything, and that's all I'm doing nowadays. So, but, we miss you, Cito. All right, we're going out of town. We got the original. We got Matt Ockley and the Dirty Little Secret. That's 32 Blue. That's Derek Lean going to be playing out there. Talked about him at the drum club. This Friday and Saturday, okay, Laughing Guns Brewing. They're your favorite brewing company in the area. We got Tyler Kiter on Thursday, and then Wildly Appropriate Friday, and then Lost Horses hitting the stage on Saturday the 25th. At Zorba's Detroit Lakes, we got R&R on Saturday the 25th, and Detroit Mountain, the rec area. Crossfire will be hitting the stage on Friday. Well, if you're going downtown, Dempsey's open mic on Thursday. Is that with Gina Powers? I hope so. We have Six Hands with Danger will be hitting the stage on Friday the 24th. At Big Burnham, we have Four Feathers and the Dank on Friday the 24th. Then Lord Hercules, Under Shit Siege, Baltic to Boardwalk, Low Speed Chase, Germ Circus, Pursuit, Heavy Sweater, Big Hank, Idiot Man-Child, Spec, and Artificial Dopamine on Friday the 25th. That's a long one. That's going to be a great show. Troll Lounge, you got Tucker It Out on Thursday. Then Matty J hit the stage on Saturday. The Alibi Lounge, you have open mic night on Thursday. I just learned about that one. So another open mic night at the Alibi Lounge. Perfect. Murphy's Pub, we got Good Shepherd hitting the stage on Sunday the 26th. Downtown, we got Front Street Tap Room, Vinyl and Vino, maybe. I haven't seen the advertisements for it, but no one's told me otherwise. An open mic night with Travis Nieros on Monday the 27th. The Cellar open mic happening right now. Mark Wade Belcher on Wednesday, so you're working to tighten up your tight 2 minutes of your stand-up minutes and all that. That's the place to be. Then we have Sam Talent and Courtney Baca on Friday the 24th. Side Street, we have Jazz Night next Monday the 27th with Jason Chumley's 2 weeks notice hits the stage on Saturday the 25th. 42nd Street Delta. There's a lot of stuff happening out there. Loving seeing that Kathy Brecky and the 42nd Street Jazz Band on Thursday. The Front Fenders hit the stage on Friday. Then Dan Brecky's band will hit the stage on Saturday the 25th. Keep it going, 42nd Street. And then still downtown, we have the FM Community Theater. Front Fenders once again playing on Saturday. Jasper Hotel, we have Dave Walters be out there this Thursday and next Thursday, I believe. And we got M&J Saloon. Jackson 3 will be out there Friday and Saturday. And then Rick's Bar, back for more. It's going to be hitting the stage on Saturday the 25th. If you're looking for that old Screamer Rock, that's the place to be. And they are good at it. All right, Downtown Acoustic Corner, we have Wednesday tonight, Writers Round at Murphy's Pub. And then Pepper Ashmore is going to be at the Roundup Saloon. Tomorrow, Pepper Ashmore is going to be at the Sweet Shots. And then Friday, the 24th, a gentleman and a scholar at the Troll Lounge. Jim White at Tailgaters. Saturday, the 25th, we got lots of things happening. Short notice will be at Swing Barrel Brewing. Brianna Hebling will be at Silver Spike. We got Bubba Mackey is going to be at the Side Street. Electric Rehab is going to be at the VFW in West Fargo. Rachel Nero is going to be at the Roundup Saloon. And Abe Taveras is going to be at the Camp Lone Star. I think it's 701 on the roof. I believe that's where it's at. Then we're going uptown to Windbreak. Tripwire tomorrow and Saturday, not Friday. Tomorrow and Saturday, 23rd, 25th. And then Uptown, who's that band? It's going to be out there on Friday the 24th. And then we go to Southtown Poorhouse up in Grand Forks. Tripwire will be out there on Friday. And then that Uptown band again, Saturday. Oh, cool. All right, so we have Shooting Star Casino. We got Chris Jansen will be on Friday the 24th, and then Chad Edwards will be in the Mustang Lounge from Friday through Saturday. At their historic Holmes Theater, we have Simon & Simon, Carly and Paul Simon Tribute is going to be playing on Saturday 24th. I think it's Saturday 25th. But we got the Tack, we got Stoopy Sound will be on Saturday 25th, and in the Sanctuary Event Center, we have Dueling Pianos. I know it's a sold-out show. We have to say it. On Friday 24th, then on Saturday at the Fargo Theater, FM Symphony is going to be out there, and they're doing a bunch of pop tunes. I should say pop tunes. It's kind of like movie reference. That'd be a really cool one to go see. And that's all we got for you with the weekend report. So we're definitely back on that. And I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Let's see. Can you put me on marching glockenspiel instead of the mega flub? No. And the funny thing was, I thought the flub drums, now I know a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about, but the flub drum I thought was a joke. I really did. And then I started watching the MPA stuff. I haven't seen an actual drumline show in person since I went down to South Dakota. I think it was 5 years ago now, maybe 6 years ago. But watching these new drumline guys on YouTube, they talk about this flub drum, and I thought it was a joke. They basically, the kids that can't hack it or don't play just as nicely as the rest, they put on these drums that are just way low in tuning. You can barely hear what they're doing, and they just have them swing along. And watching the MPA, so the Minneapolis area competition stuff, I saw so many flub drums. I could not believe it. They're like actual legit. Some people were making their own. Some people are actually buying what they consider a flub drum. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm disappointed or that's just how the world's working now, is that you just train them in that way. But, they're playing the drum. Just have them play the drum. Why are we doing this? But, again, that's my whole thing. And by the way, hi, yes, hello out there. No, you do not love flub drums. They shouldn't be out there. Still looked it up. Oh, let's see. I was so pissed when I learned about it because I thought it was a joke. Oh, yes, of course. That whole flub drummy thing. I don't get it. Weitzer. But it is. So that brings me up all through that. I aged out with the Capitol Sound. I came back home after basically North Texas took all my money, and I couldn't find any more ways to, fund myself. I was working at Pizza Hut at the time. Woo, Pizza Hut on Teasley. Yay! If you guys ever see this, I was there for a while. They wanted to make me at least an assistant manager at one point. Yeah, that's a whole other story, but they asked me to be the big manager at the delivery unit, delivery Pizza Hut in Moorhead twice. Both times I quit. I just didn't want to be the pizza guy. But that brings me coming back to Fargo. And when I came back, I had the chance to hang out with the Kellers down in Austin, Texas. Mike just moved down there. Corey just moved down there. He just graduated, moved down there, and his parents moved down there. And his parents had a room, and they said I could have it, or I could, as long as I need to get myself set up in Austin, which I probably should have taken looking back at, because Austin is a great, great city, but I haven't been there since the 90s, and I know it's completely exploded since then. And Mike and Corey are doing really, really cool things down there. So look those guys up on YouTube, Mike and Corey Keller, the Keller brothers, whatever else. They used to be from Fargo North. Really, really cool people, and great guitar player and a great drummer, I should say. But I came back to town, figuring I was going to get 12 different jobs and, head back down to North Texas. That was my big, big goal. But ended up being in, I think, 3 bands. And let's see, we started a nonprofit that started up the Nightfire Winter Drumline. So it was the first independent drumline out of the area. That was started by myself and why am I blowing your name? I want to call you what I always call you, but I can't say that online. But yeah, we started that up, and it was basically I was coming home, sleeping for 15 minutes, getting back up, and going to the next thing, and it really started hurting my body like big time. I mean, there was things that were inside of me that were throwing out pain signals that just said you need to slow down. So I quit some of the jobs. I dropped most of the bands. I was down to one band at that time, name of Dorian, which I do have a photo of that because the funny thing about Dorian, and there's the old pony car from high school. I didn't get to talk about that. And that's North Force. That was me, center snare. I know it's a fuzzy picture, but that was the best one I could pull off the internet. And then, I haven't even talked about my, there's all the parents from North Force. My mom's in there way to the right, second row to the back. Ken Fenton was way to the other side, on the left. And, and I haven't even talked about that in drum corps. That was our big thing. I still wish I had this T-shirt, but I know my ex has it, probably thrown away or something. But in 1997, the only people ever to beat the Madison Scouts out of anything was us at the Capitol Sound. The bus pushing competition, we beat them outright. Yeah. So there we all are, showing off the guns and stuff. I can't even figure. Oh, I'm barely off. You can see like the top of my head. So that one got cut off a little bit. Oh, and there's me at the International Music Camp teaching drumline. And again at the music camp, either drumline or rock band, but I'm doing a timpani solo that time. And then here's the Steel Sticks drumline at Findlay, North Dakota. And I know I talked about them a lot of learning lessons from these guys, and just to help teach the younger kids. Now, Gavin, you're in that. So I hope you're still watching, Gavin. I still miss you guys. I really miss you guys. Should never have left. And then there's Devin and I heading to the International Music Camp. That's me and him inside a Honda 2-door Civic with an entire drum set and all of our camping stuff for the week in there, along with both of us. So, yeah, made that happen. And there's one of my gigs I do now is a church band over at the Faith United Methodist in North Fargo. And, couldn't ask for nicer people to play with, talented people to play with. I mean, it's great. I love those guys. And then there's me. I got to point to the Apple Store. Again, I'm just reaching for this one photo of the Dorian album, and I'm just going through all these real quick. But I am a avid vintage Apple computer collector and restorer. I love doing that. So you can check out one of my YouTube channels that I'm getting back on because I'm done with the long-term subbing thing, so I can actually work on videos again. I learned how to actually use my video software, and it's Apple Orchard Vintage Computers. You can see me basically messing with old Apple computers or whatever else that's happening out, collecting them, getting them running, all that other fun stuff. That link's down below, along with my demon detecting, metal detecting one, because I used to go out and just metal detect for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Last year we didn't get out at all, but that's supposedly we're going to be redoing that because the little lady got herself a big girl job, and we're going to have extra time. We're going to get out there and swing that stick around, find some more junk in the ground. But there's me in New York City pointing to the Apple shop. And, yep, didn't get a chance to go in, but definitely got to go see it. Oh, and there we go, Dorian. Right now there are two copies of this on eBay. You can look this up as we speak. That people are trying to sell. One's for like $38 and one's for $33. You can see that one says $1.99. I couldn't believe I found that at a used CD shop, so I had to purchase it. It's a lot of fun. I got probably a dozen copies behind me right now, but I even reached out to the guy who was selling it. It's like, where'd you get this? And, why do you have it? And he basically said he bought it from a collector in the Minneapolis area, and that I should put mine up high if I'm going to sell mine off as well. And I think it's just so he can, try to get the profit margin that he's looking for on there. So when do we have drumline again? Well, if we don't have school tomorrow, it'll be next Tuesday. If we have school tomorrow night, we're going to learn up some new tunes. And then, there's the gravesite of my mother from 1994, August 24th, 94. With my son and daughter. This is a couple of years ago. Devin is now way bigger than that, way more muscular, and Sarah is off on her own as well. She's turned 19 in October, and he just turned 21 literally a couple weeks ago, and I'm still trying to get him to call me. So he turned into his father. I haven't talked to my dad in a long time, too. This is how it works. Oh, and here's Drumline 09. I just, basically right now I'm playing with the Lake Agassiz Wind Ensemble, or Wind Symphony. Yeah, Wind Symphony. Got the poster right there. And we always rehearse at NDSU, and walked into the perk room to grab some stuff, and I forgot completely about these drum heads that we made up. So you can see me right in the middle. I'm the old man with the cane and the long hair yelling drumline because that was my thing. Drumline! And get everyone to come on over. I just haven't given up on it. It just hasn't been appropriate for what we've been doing. And then there was all the rest of the guys in the line. And I know some people, I posted this up there. It's like, some of these jokes don't stand up today. Yeah, probably not. But, that was Drumline from 2009. And then there's Devin. This fatigues. That was the last time I saw him in person. That was probably a year and a half ago now. Trying to get him to come home. We'll get him to come home. And then they made this photo up of me. So I had to post it. And it was too good of a Photoshop, but I don't know what they're trying to get at here. It's kind of cringeworthy. Oh, and Zeebies came to say hi. Whoops. Where's Zeebies at? There he is. Zeebers! He doesn't have much to say. All right. So basically, that's kind of my life in a nutshell. Right now, I'm playing with the Uptown, and for the church band, I do a lot of that. I teach privately. I sub for bands mostly, sometimes some orchestras, but try to stay away from the choirs just because I'm not that good at it. And in Fargo and West Fargo. So that's basically what I do nowadays. That, and then, fixing up computers and everything else. And hopefully making a lot more videos. But, I've taken up enough of your guys' time tonight. But thank you for being out there and talking about the old flub drums and all that other fun stuff. So that was me in a nutshell. And, yeah, still working on the drum set thing. Still working on the old hands. Getting that Moorhead drum line up and going, the Spud line. Proud of you guys. Really am. And just good hearing from everyone else out there. So we got to get to our little juvenile destruction. So here's this week's Off the Riff. What is that? Picked up the grooves on this one. So these are all recycled off the roofs, mainly because there's about a foot of snow on the driveway. And I also had to do some renovation in the basement, so I lost a lot of time last fall in order to make a bunch to go over the winter. So I just grabbed it at random. I have no idea what we're doing here. Oh, I think I know what that is now. I can't believe it didn't explode. Looks like a little crock pot, but why didn't it break? There's Eeps. That was perfect aim, too. You're hired. And those of you still left out there wondering what that was all about, well, basically, back in the day when we had the parties going on, everything here, as I grew up in this house, evidently one person would get on the roof, if not multiple, and we'd be throwing random electronics off just to watch it explode on the driveway. So I'm just keeping the tradition alive. If you got anything you want to see exploded or broken or whatever else, throw it in my yard. I don't care. Call us up. We'll come and pick it up for you, whatever else, and we'll break it for you. So, there's Zeebs back there. Oh, you still can barely see him. Zeebs! Oh, I wish I could move that camera, but it's too far away. But that's all we got for you this week. So remember, if your drummer's got more charisma than your front man, your band may be in trouble. But that's why my band's doing just fine. So until next time.